The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the Journal.
In Senate, Tuesday, March 16, 2021, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The Journal of Monday, March 15, 2021 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the Journal stands approved as read. Presentation of petitions, messages from the Assembly, messages from the Governor, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, communications and reports from state officers, motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Madam President. Amendments are offered to the following third reading calendar bills, sponsored by Senator Reichlin-Melnick, page 25, calendar 444, Senate 3967, and by Senator Thomas on page 33, calendar 535, Senate 4265.
The amendment is received and the bill shall retain its place on the third reading calendar.
Senator Rivera, I wish to call up Senate Print 4893, recalled from the Assembly, which is now at the desk.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 372, Senate Print 4893 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law.
And I move to reconsider the vote by which the bill was passed.
The Secretary will call the roll on reconsideration.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White. Ayes 56.
The bill is restored to its place on the third reading calendar.
I offer the following amendments.
The amendments are received.
At this time, Madam President, can we take up the reading of the calendar?
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 187, Senate Print 671 by Senator Sanders, an act to amend the banking law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 60th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar number 187, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Tedisco, and Steck. Ayes 40, nays 16.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 213, Senate Print 2004 by Senator Jackson, an act to amend the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the 1st of September.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Tedisco to explain his vote.
Thank you, President. President and my colleagues. This bill deals with a significant and serious issue and concern. And in some ways, I think it purports to solve the problem of a lack of openness and transparency and honesty as we relate to the FOIL system, Freedom of Information Act, and the open government laws in New York State. I'm hastened to say that we have an executive on the second floor, a governor, who's a pretty good communicator. Such a good communicator and such a good actor that our friends in Hollywood gave him an Emmy. Well, he may deserve an Emmy for communication and acting, but he will never get an Emmy for transparency, openness, and honesty. In fact, if anybody within listening range of me is interested in whether an Emmy can tarnish, probably all you have to do is go to this office and look on the mantle. And you'll find out it can tarnish very quickly, and so can somebody's reputation, who lies, distorts, covers up, and hides the truth. This particular bill is serious in relationship to the issue it purports to solve. It's not serious about doing it, though. And I'll tell you why. Maybe you have had the experience I have had, the media has had, groups have had, to try to foil for information that should be given and open to the public, a hallmark of our representative democracy. I can tell you what the game plan is every single time I've done that. Every single time I've done that, an administrator, a commissioner, a decision maker who I tried to foil for information, and I'm pretty sure a lot of my colleagues may have had the same thing happen to them, or the media, they keep moving the goalpost farther and farther and farther down the field. In fact, so far it's outside of the stadium. And sometimes you can never get the information. The most egregious example of that is being investigated right now. And it should be investigated right now. We didn't lose 7,000 or 8,000 people, our most vulnerable population. One of the worst tragedies, one of the worst tragedies in the history of New York State. We lost 15,000 of our most vulnerable population in nursing homes. You know how long it took to get that information from Freedom of Information in the FOIL process? Forever. The only reason why we got it is because the AG did an investigation, and she came out and said, 50% undercount. It's not 7,000 or 8,000, it's 15,000. I had the opportunity with the Empire Center, and by the way, we had hearings, we asked Commissioner Zucker for the answers, we foiled him. The Empire Center foiled about 6 to 8 months ago. The goalposts kept moving. We can't give you the answer this month, 2 more months, can't give you the answer then, 2 more. So what did they do, the Empire Center? They sued the governor, DOH, Commissioner Zucker, the state of New York. And I'm told it's $5,000 to $10,000 the legal fees to do that. Judge Kimberly O'Connor, after those 6 to 8 months, came back with a directive, a judgment. You know what she said? The governor, state of New York, Zucker, DOH, violated the open government law. Let me repeat that. Violated the open government law, and you have to give those numbers. Well, they gave them. That's why we know it wasn't 7,000 deaths. It was 15,000 deaths. It may still be rising right now. But she said something else. Hey, governor, state of New York, you have to pay those legal fees. You know what? The governor didn't pay any legal fees. Commissioner Zucker didn't pay any legal fees. DOH didn't pay any legal fees. The taxpayers who I'm talking to now paid the legal fees. They're all indemnified. Time and time and time again, when they defy the open government law, they don't give that information out, that the public has the right to know in a timely and orderly fashion. Nobody pays a penalty here in New York State. They just go about their ways. Nothing to see here, just keep right on going. Well, the taxpayers paid $5,000 to $10,000 for those legal fees. It was the penalty that the judge gave, not to the taxpayers, but they paid it. This bill basically says, well, we make a mistake out here, which is not a mistake, defying the open government law, and we catch you at it. We're just going to use taxpayers' money more often to pay for the mistake that they make, not a mistake, I'm sorry I said that, a denial that they make. That's wrong. That doesn't give them the impetus or the desire to do what's right. And that's when you get a FOIL, you are asked for information that should be public information, especially when 15,000 of our most vulnerable population die because of an executive order, or a good portion of it, on March 25th. And then sometime in April, he says, we're going to rescind that. We made a little bit of a mistake. Yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake. And then you write a book, and because it doesn't fit your narrative, you hide those numbers for 8 to 10 months, and we got to sue the state of New York for that. We can't continue this. This bill does not solve that. You know what solves that? Not a violation if you don't give the information to the public they deserve, a real penalty. In other words, the judge should have been able to say, hey, you broke the law. You violated the open government law. You violated the Freedom of Information Act. Governor, you got to pay $500. That's your fine, $500. Not from your campaign fund, not from taxpayers' dollars, not from an indemnification. Commissioner Zucker, you got to pay $500, not of taxpayers' dollars. You're denying this information. You have an obligation above and beyond everybody to adhere to the law. And this open government law, this transparency law is extremely important because we can see what happens when they go unvetted. When we didn't know that it wasn't 7,000, that it was larger and larger and kept growing and growing, that we could have involved ourselves more. But they wouldn't give us the numbers. DOH wouldn't, the commissioner wouldn't, the governor wouldn't. And you know what? When the judge made that determination and said, you have to pay for the legal fees, that poured salt in the wounds of taxpayers of this state, of all New Yorkers, but most of all, of the family members who lost those 15,000 loved ones because of the situation and the numbers and the lying and distortion and cover-up that took place. It poured salt in their wounds because they didn't get any justice. It was their tax dollars. It was their loved ones who lost their lives. And who paid the fine for the legal fees? Well, we have an investigation now. Hopefully that investigation will lead us to do a real bill, a serious bill that says we as elected officials who make the laws have to adhere to the laws. And when it's public information, we have to provide that public information. Madam President, I'm going to vote no on this bill, but you bring a bill to the floor that gives a real penalty for governors and for decision makers and for commissioners and for elected officials who hide the truth in public information. I'll vote for that on any day. But I vote no on this bill today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Tedisco to be recorded in the negative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 213, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Gallivan, Lanza, and Tedisco. Aye 53, nays 3.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 321, Senate Print 1114 by Senator Liu, an act to amend the Public Authorities Law, the Executive Law, and the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
Section 9, this act shall take effect on the 120th day after the shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Dabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 328, Senate Print 78A by Senator Hoylman, an act to amend the Elder Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 328, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Lanza, and Ort. Ayes 52, nays 4.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 447, Senate Print 4064 by Senator Gorin, an act to amend the town law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 447, voted in the negative, Senator Griffo. Ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 489, Senate Print 3132 by Senator Kavanaugh, an act to amend the private housing finance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Kavanaugh to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Just very briefly, this is a bill that would create the New York Main Street Development Center. It is based on an existing program that the Homes and Community Renewal runs, but the purpose of the bill would be to codify that program and ensure that it has the resources necessary to serve the purpose of this program. The purpose being to make sure that our smaller communities, our traditional Main Street areas have the resources they need to redevelop, to develop affordable housing, and also to develop business opportunities that serve low and moderate income in those communities. So it's an important initiative, and I thank my colleagues for supporting it today, and note that this is a bipartisan bill. I'm joined by Senator Helming, the ranking member of the Housing Committee, and many colleagues in supporting it. But thank you. I vote aye.
Senator Kavanaugh to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results. The bill is passed.
Calendar number 514, Senate Print 2986 by Senator Brute, an act to amend the penal law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the 1st of January.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Senator Brooke to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon. I think it's important to highlight some of the importance of this bill. As we live in an increasingly digital world, especially as COVID-19 has forced many of us to communicate with friends, loved ones, and colleagues extensively through our phones and our computers. And if we are truly to protect ourselves and our children, New York State's laws have to keep up with the ways that our interaction with technology is changing. The use of sexually explicit images to harm and threaten people, a crime largely committed against women, teenagers, and LGBTQ individuals, is an emerging and increasing threat that must be addressed by our state. So many of our laws fail to take into account the gendered nature of crimes, and they rarely offer protection for women and our LGBTQ communities, who are especially vulnerable to this type of exploitation. The responsibility to prove harm, to seek justice, and to figure out how to survive these devastating experiences is a lonely and often difficult road for victims. And that's why the passing of this bill today is such a powerful statement by the Senate, and that this type of coercion and harassment is not okay, and that we are willing to stand up to protect those most vulnerable to sexual exploitation. I thank my colleagues for the support and attention to this really, really important matter. Thank you.
Senator Brooke to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 514, voted in the negative, Senator Brisport, ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 519, Senate Print 4086 by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the tax law.
Lay it aside.
Calendar number 533, Senate Print 5305 by Senator Reichlin Melnick, an act to amend Chapter 83 of the laws of 1995.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Addabbo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart Cousins, White.
Announce the result.
In relation to calendar 533, voted in the negative, Senator Lanza, ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 543, Senate Print 3762 by Senator Brunson, an act to amend the public health law.
Lay it aside. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Can we move to the reading of the controversial calendar, please?
The secretary will ring the bell. The secretary will read.
Calendar number 519, Senate Print 4086 by Senator Hinchey, an act to amend the tax law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Madam President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator White to be heard.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Madam President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that you recognize Senator White.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator White may be heard.
Thank you, Madam President. The bill in chief would establish a gift for substance use disorder education and recovery. This amendment is germane because over the past year, the impact of the pandemic and so many of the governor's mandates have led to an increase of substance abuse and mental health issues. So many have struggled and continue to struggle due to the many restrictions and edicts passed down by the governor over the last year. We can all agree some were and still are. Many were done at the whim of the governor and his inner circle with little scientific or factual evidence. And many of those unnecessary mandates that continue to harm us are still in effect because our colleagues across the aisle continue to refuse to take a vote on this amendment that would actually strip the governor of his emergency powers. The bill that was passed in this House just a few weeks ago just didn't do what we needed to do, and that is to truly restore the legislature as co-equal branch of government. During that debate, many of these unnecessary directives came up, such as the need to buy food with alcoholic drinks or arbitrary curfews for restaurants and gyms, and colleagues on both sides of the aisle agree there's no basis for them. But they remain in effect today because despite the claims by the majority, the governor continues to call all the shots. We are well past the time to truly remove the governor's powers, especially now with mounting investigations, scandals, and allegations that have severely compromised his ability to lead at a time when this state is demanding leadership. He is under increased pressure to resign, and there's an impeachment investigation launched by the Assembly. What is guiding his decision-making process at this critical time? It is time that the governor is more concerned with his own political future than the interest of New Yorkers. New Yorkers need and deserve better. For this reason, Madam President, I strongly urge you to reconsider your ruling, and I urge all my colleagues to support this amendment.
Thank you, Senator. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye.
Request a show of hands.
Madam President, we've agreed to waive the showing of hands and record each member of the minority in the affirmative.
Without objection, so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands, and the bill in chief is before the House. Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 4, this act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 56.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 543, Senate Print 3762 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the public health law.
Oh, Senator Palumbo.
Thank you, Madam President. Will the sponsor yield for a few questions, please?
Senator
Certainly.
Breslin, do you yield?
Certainly.
Senator yields.
Thank you, Senator Breslin. How are you? Nice to see you. I have a few questions, if I may, regarding this bill. And just generally, it looks as though there will be a lot of impact on possibly costs on the industry. So is there any sort of a fiscal impact statement with regard to the impacts on either the industry, the state, or something else?
Well, yes, and if you know anything about the PBMs, they're not regulated now, so the information isn't as accessible as it might ordinarily be. And they were, originally hired by health plans, unions, others to do particular kinds of work, which has been accelerated over a number of years. And it's now estimated that PBMs in the United States make about $315 billion a year.
Sponsor continue to yield, Madam President.
Senator Breslin, do you continue to yield?
Sponsor yields.
Senator yields.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. Well, as a result of this legislation, then, where will those costs be passed off and saved by the consumer? I understand what the intent of this legislation is, of course, but what do you have as far as effect on the industry, if you may?
Break it down a little bit. Pharmacy benefit managers enter into contracts with health plans and others in that category. And they first go to manufacturers, kind of establish prices, go to pharmacies, and now it's expanded so that PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, are really in contact with every level of the transportation of drugs between and among people who need them and people who create them. And so once, excuse me, the money, we're not sure where it goes because it goes to people along that chain. This bill would create some fiduciary relationships between the two contract parties, that being the initial health care plan and the PBMs, so that they know where the money, they're paying for a service, the service is provided. If there's other monies along that pathway, there has to be full disclosure and those monies put in trust, be divided up in a fair and equitable way.
Senator, continue to yield, please.
Senator Breslin, do you continue to yield?
I yield.
Senator yields.
Well, thank you, Senator. And there's a very similar bill, almost the identical bill, was passed both houses last year, and the governor vetoed it. And in his veto memo, he indicated that fiduciary relationship that you mentioned and a few other things were of significant concern. So before we get into the fiduciary questions, after that veto was issued and prior to the reprint and issuance of this legislation, did you have any conversations with any of the stakeholders that were otherwise impacted, possibly the unions, employers, health plans, and so forth?
Stakeholders are the pharmacies, the people who are serving the ultimate consumer. And that ultimate consumer, the patient, is the real stakeholder. And if there's $315 billion being made by that process, there's only one group that suffer, and that's the patients. So this bill would give the light of day to the whole transaction, make it open and informative, and would preclude anyone in the chain breaking their vow of a contractual relationship with the other.
Thank you, Senator. Would you continue to yield, please?
Senator Breslin, do you continue to yield?
Continue to yield.
Senator yield.
Well, thank you, Senator. And on page 2 of the bill, regarding that fiduciary relationship, I've gotten some concerns from various groups regarding that language, because once we've created this fiduciary duty, now it's certainly a heightened obligation. We don't need to go into the legal lesson there. We all understand that clearly. That would lead to additional litigation, particularly because, and I'll point you to one section. Sure, certainly. I'll point, if I may, point to one section in that regard where, at line 42, where there is a conflict in the pharmacy benefit manager's duty or obligation under this paragraph to the covered individual and any other party, the duty or obligation to the covered individual shall be primary. And regarding that section, also including a private right of action in this bill, there have been some concerns expressed to me that this would clearly lead to litigation, and ultimately, as a result of that very high duty being the fiduciary duty, those costs would be borne by the industry and therefore passed off to the consumer. So can you please address that and alleviate some of those concerns?
The reason for that paragraph is exactly the opposite. It protects the insured. It protects the insured from monies being diverted from the process. And in fact, if there is legal action necessary, then that legal action would prevent and protect the patient from any undue passage of dollars away from that stream that I indicated before.
Thank you very much, Senator. On the bill, please, Madam President.
Senator Palumbo on the bill.
Well, and thank you, Senator Breslin. And I appreciate that conversation and your input. And in the interest of full disclosure, when I was down the hall last year, I voted for this bill because we need to regulate PBMs. I think the industry agrees with that, and we all do. So I am going to vote yes on this bill, but I do have some reservations, and those were what the governor brought up in his veto memo and what I've been hearing from the industry, who expressed those exact same concerns. To create this fiduciary obligation is possibly an unreasonable aspect to this regulation. Do we need to regulate them? Absolutely. And what I'm concerned about is that good government involves every stakeholder. We've seen that with some other massive legislation that we've run through these houses in the past few years, where we didn't include everyone in the conversation, pros, cons, and otherwise, to create smart, good legislation that balances all of these concerns. And we've had to make huge amendments on major items that passed in the budget, such as bail reform and so forth. That's a conversation for a different day. So I am voting yes, because we do need to regulate this industry without question on behalf of the consumer. However, I just do have some reservations. I expect, whether it's this governor or a different one that's on the second floor, we may be doing this again next year. So I think we just need to tweak that language ever so slightly to modify reasonably those concerns in that language. But in any event, Madam President, I vote aye. Thank you.
Are there any other senators wishing to be heard? Seeing and hearing none. Oh, Senator Breslin.
Vote, please.
Senator Breslin, we will wait 1 minute till we get to that. Seeing and hearing none, debate is closed. The secretary will ring the bell. Read the last section.
Section 5, this act shall take effect on the 90th day after it shall become a law.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Breslin to explain his vote.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This is an enormous day in the healthcare industry. when we talk about pharmacy benefit managers nationally making $315 billion, some cases they say it's more than the manufacturer itself. And that original role in relation to entering into a contract with an HMO or a union or other large groups to fulfill a particular individual responsibility has grown to the point where these PBMs own pharmacies. These PBMs have relationships with manufacturers where there's transfers of different profit incentives and monies that aren't being accounted for. The getting into the PBMs owning pharmacies, controlling mail orders, demanding mail orders, has run private pharmacies out of business. 80% of the pharmacies in the United States, the PBMs, are controlled by the three major pharmacies. We have to change that. This bill will bring the light of day to pharmacy benefit managers, and it will do much to make the consumer pay a lesser amount for the proper drugs. Thank you, Madam President. I vote aye.
Senator Breslin, to be recorded in the affirmative, announce the results.
In relation to calendar 543, voted in the negative, Senator Gallivan, ayes 55, nays 1.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of the controversial calendar.
Going back to motions for a moment, Madam President, on page 12, I offer the following amendments to Calendar 186, Senate 166A, and ask that said bill retain its place on the third reading calendar.
The amendment is received, and the bill shall retain its place on the third reading calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
I move to adjourn until tomorrow, Thursday, March 18th, at 11 a.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Thursday, March 18th at 11 a.m.